If there was a full moon that could represent anarchy, this would be that full moon. Personally, I'm not too into this energy, but if people need to speak their truth or jump off a roof to make their point, I mean, you do you. If you are excited to dive into what we can collectively expect from this full moon in Aries, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you are always up to date with what the stars have in store for you. Hi, I'm Maren. I am a professional astrologer, author, and philosophy student. I combine traditional Hellenistic astrological techniques with modern psychological counseling dynamics to provide grounded guidance. If you have not already seen your October forecast for your particular rising sign, the playlist will be linked down below so that you know where this will exactly be playing out for you. If they're private or not up yet, I time these things very specifically, so trust that it'll be linked below and ready in no time. This video is brought to you by my very own Astrology Academy. The Astrology Academy is a comprehensive deep dive into the basics of astrology. This course is a comprehensive deep dive into the foundational concepts of astrology that include history, philosophy, technical concepts, counseling considerations, and a step-by-step guide to reading a chart. This is a semester-style course with 8 key modules to work through on your own time, and it includes live calls with me every week to go over the material and gain practical feedback. I've been working on this course for so long, like years basically, but really these past few months, I've been working so hard to refine this, test it live with others, and go through multiple iterations to create the ideal product of an Intro to Astrology Foundation course that I would have wanted. I'm so excited to finally present this to you all, and all the information for enrollment, if you're interested, is below. Below is also a link to a webinar I recently did on how to actually start learning astrology. So if you're very, very new to this and you want to get a taste of what learning astrology is even like, that hour-long webinar below might give you a bit of a dip your toe in kind of thing. But both are linked below, so if the Astrology Academy speaks to your soul, I would love to have you express your interest and see if moving forward with enrollment is the way to go. So this is a full moon in Aries happening on October 1st, 2020 at 5:05 p.m. Eastern Time. 5:05 is my favorite Arctic Monkey song, so if you guys, that's a good song. I crumble completely when you cry. It's a bop. But the sun in this full moon will be at 9 degrees of Libra, opposite the moon at 9 degrees of Aries. Sun is always opposite the moon in full moons. They're times of culmination, high point in the lunar cycle. The sun is in the first decan of Libra, and the whole sign of Libra is ruled by Venus, but this particular first third of Libra has a bit of influence of the moon. And the moon and Venus together are very smooth, very welcoming, nurturing energies. And this indicates a really smooth and social part of Libra. It's, my moon is here, but there's other things making me a bit more callous in my chart. But this part of this decan, the first decan of Libra, corresponds with the Two of Swords tarot card. And that card represents an uninterrogated problem or issues that they're fine for now, but they will come out later and they're building up. It indicates something brewing that is problematic but not being discussed, and kind of, you know, the Libra mood of glossing over the problem and biting the tongue. Authority figures may be glossing over or ignoring something that's erupting here. The moon then is opposite that in the first decan of Aries, and Aries as a sign is ruled by Mars, and this decan of Aries is also ruled by Mars. So it's a very, very Martian, I mean, it's the first decan of the first sign. It is go, go, go cardinal energy. It's associated with the Two of Wands tarot card, and it's funny because one of my teachers in the decans from a while ago, and the correlation to the tarot cards, Austin Kopic, he calls it the Axe decan. I just remember that because it's the first decan, first Wands card, and the Two of Wands doesn't show like an immediate victorious conqueror post-victory. They're planning on their victory. They're excited to get to that point. And it's the tremendous confidence and tremendous energy that it takes to start a fire and get something going. And there's this feeling of like, I'm ready to challenge the world. It's not necessarily an omen of conflict with other people as much as like ready for battle, ready for adventure with your people. The moon generally does indicate the public or the masses. Like the sun is big daddy authority. Moon is like us, the masses. I mean, I consider myself part of the elite, so part of the cabal, so perhaps I am the sun. That was really bad astrology joke there. But people uprising, the moon is is people. And I think that with the moon in this position, I can see this culminating in some sort of people's uprising against authority figures who are overlooking problems, especially in social or even I think that this could indicate some sort of actual break in terms of racial tensions, just in terms of like something either not happening in policy, like something very distinctive that people are literally just not taking anymore, because when Venus is involved throughout history, it has been indicative of like new racial and civil rights movements. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this full moon indicates like the masses are empowered about something. And I'm filming this in August because you guys know I work fucking far ahead. And already right now, like there's still ongoing Black Lives Matter protests because there's no direct action being made. And so I would hope that this would even signal that like something is done, but people want more, because if still at this point there's nothing done, then with police bullshit, then that's another question. But besides that, just in general, this is an energy of people uprising against something that's being glossed over. And if you already know the houses where this is happening in your chart, I'd be interested to hear if you already know where the Libra part might be like, oh, like this is fine, and the Aries part of your chart is like, no, we're gonna deal with this. I know this is activating my 10th house, 4th house, so I'm wondering what's gonna happen with my home and living situation, if there's gonna be like another plumbing issue, swear to God, in this place where I'm like, I don't know, we'll see. I also don't usually work with asteroid Chiron, but Chiron is separating, or the moon is separating a little over 2 degrees away from Chiron here in Aries, which that's worth looking at. And you hear thrown around a lot that Chiron is the wounded healer. I still think that's a useful point to bring up, because it's someone who's doing the work while they're still doing the work on themselves. The phrase I like to use is teaching best what we most need to learn, because that's what I consider myself to be doing with everything I teach, and I have Chiron like on my midheaven and public image, so I understand the archetype pretty well. But I think that with the moon on Chiron, it's kind of like, I'm not going to take this anymore, getting up off of our ass and solving our own problems instead of waiting for someone else to heal us. That we are ready to actually embody the wounded healer and be like, we don't have it perfect, we don't necessarily have an answer, but the answer is not this, and so we cannot stay stagnant. I think it's also around speaking our own truth instead of waiting for someone else to articulate it more perfectly, that we have to start somewhere, and that like we're admired for not having it all together. I think that that's often the people we admire are those that are open on the journey. And the hero, so to speak, of like the authority might just be there looking pretty while people are really down in the dirt, like doing their thing and being, this just screams like civil unrest activism to me. So I'm hoping that it's not so much anarchy as it is like a movement finally reaching a culmination. The moon is also co-present in the same sign with Mars in Aries while Mars is retrograde, and it's a pretty far conjunction, but it's still co-present by sign, which is important when Mars is in its own sign ruling this. In a daytime chart like it is 5:05, it's still not after sunset. This is challenging, like Mars is the most challenging planet in a chart, but because Mars is dignified by sign, like even with malefics, even with Mars and Saturn, you want them strong in their own sign. You want planets that are destructive to be destructive in a strong, dignified way. And with it in its own sign, there tends to be a lot of resources available to get our activity or our severing across. But with it tightly square Saturn and Pluto and Capricorn, and Saturn being in its home sign, I mean, that's helpful that Saturn is still in its home sign, because it means that both malefics are dignified. So even though it's like definite conflict, there's purpose. There's, I don't want to say light at the end of the tunnel, but there's like, we can get shit done with this pressure cooker. It's not just mindless, ineffective pressure. But it is icky. Like square Saturn and Pluto, I don't like it. Because Mars square Saturn, like that in and of itself is, squares are of the nature of Mars, and so there's this constant friction of go, go, go with Mars and stop, stop, stop with Saturn. And as someone with like this natally, I know it pretty well, that it's around pushing the gas and the brakes at the same time, and Pluto takes it to an atomic scale. Like Pluto takes the tiny and makes it big. It takes the dramatic and makes it like silent. Like it's just this weird transformative force. With so much momentum here, like the malefics in their own signs, Mars retrograde, this is very, very, I mean, it's toning the rest of 2020, but this is the major alignment during this full moon. That is just this backdrop of inaction, but the people like revving up against that. And there's just a ridiculous amount of pressure here. I feel like I'm saying this so much, but I can't like stress it enough that it's just a huge amount of this full moon and the rest of 2020. And Mars is receiving a superior square from Jupiter, but Pluto is hitting it by degree first. so it can't be helped out too much. Like Jupiter is already in its fall, so even though superior squares from Jupiter, if Jupiter is in the earlier zodiacal position relative to the other planet, it's a superior square and it's bonification and it's good shit. When Jupiter is like debilitated in a coma by being in its fall in the same sign as Pluto and Saturn, it's not really saving shit. Like the hero is inebriated. On the other things going on, Mercury is in Scorpio approaching an opposition to Pluto, and Mercury in Scorpio is like the whistleblower who is also subtle. Like it's the one word mic drop that explodes and totally owns someone. And with this opposite Uranus, it's like saying one thing or calling out one thing with someone and that being just eruption. And we're biting our tongue and then we say it and shit goes haywire. And I would say, you know, like it would be like you being able to destroy someone in one word and then you saying the one word and then just being like, dip out, that kind of thing. So I mean, if you have something to say it, but there's gonna be fucking fallout, so to speak. But I mean, speak your truth, speak your truth. And Jupiter sextile Neptune is also a big part of this full moon. Jupiter sextile to Neptune is an ongoing outer planet aspect during 2020 because the Jupiter and Neptune, they're slower moving planets, and so it's coloring the entire year, but it's pretty exact right now. And Jupiter is fallen, it's not super powerful. A sextile is an aspect of opportunity, and it's kind of the better than nothing aspect. Like it's cute and I don't usually look at it, but I'm looking at it in 2020 because we have fucking like nothing else remotely like positive in this year, or like everything fucking in this year is destructive. So this is the one better than nothing positivity aspect. Sextiles connect planets that are in, or they connect signs that are of the same polarity, so either yin or yang, but different elements. So it's connecting Earth with water in this case. Jupiter and Neptune, the planet of expansion and the planet of dreams, we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, even though the tunnel itself is long, hard, diligent work. So there's like a slight little like cookie at the end of the war, so to speak, like literally like massacre, and it's like, but we get a cookie if we survive. That's kind of this energy I see here. It's indicating that we're not completely hopeless and nihilistic, that this lunation emphasizes the uprising of people against complacent leaders. Like that's the really major theme here, because the angered masses are no longer going to take ambivalence or complacency. That's what is really indicated here. And Mercury opposite Uranus definitely indicates speaking the truth and blowing the lid off of things. You know, I'm gonna grab some popcorn and like a drink and some snacks and watch, because I do not want to be a part of this fallout. If you do, if you feel called to the front lines, who knows, maybe I will be called to the front lines. Maybe it's finally liberating all the slaughterhouses. I will be doing that shit. But it's gnarly. I don't really have another word for it. It's a gnarly lunation. There's another, if I had a more mature word to use on the tip of my tongue right now, I would probably use it, because I will try to be mature around this full moon. Let's pull a tarot card and see what tarot card comes up for this lunation. This is so interesting. We literally pulled the Two of Swords. That is literally the card of the first decan of Libra. That's around glossing over things, not addressing the elephant in the room, completely like tight-lipped around obscenities because you don't want to start shit. So this does definitely indicate that keeping the peace might be in the long term what's happening here, even if people are not okay with that. Let's pull a Law of Attraction card for a last bit of guidance around what recommendation for manifesting an attraction we should all take, even though full moons are not times of manifesting new things, it's more release. Words do not teach, my life experience teaches. Words do not teach, it is life experience that brings you your knowing. Reflect into your own past life experience and begin watching for the correlation between the words you are reading here and the life experiences that you have lived. Have you been mostly thinking, speaking, writing, and observing that which pleases you, or not? So this doesn't mean past life in terms of like reincarnation, but rather in your past, like what experiences do you want to draw upon for this? Rather than trusting the words of people, trust the experience that you have lived. Choose if your energy is better spent interacting with the entanglement or doing your own thing right now. I think that that can be a good guidance amidst the eruptions. So if you enjoyed this and you would like to check out my information below, I'm not sure if I'm open again for readings at this point when I'm filming this, but if I am open for readings, you can either see that or join my waitlist for when I am back open for readings. I'm busy school year, so I'm being, just started grad school, so I'm prioritizing, you know, time management, but you can check out Rashi also down below. Rashi is my platform connecting spiritual practitioners with their ideal clients to facilitate healing, so if you're an astrologer, tarot reader, post your services below. Also, Astrology Academy, like, join me, learn with me, my baby, and I'm so excited to spread that to you, so check that out. Otherwise, like, subscribe, do all the things, and let me know down below anything you feel coming up or any events that you see around this full moon. Love to talk on it. Otherwise, sending so much love. Have an awesome rest of the, have an awesome day.
There is one thing you're all forgetting, but in this morning